Number one, it's for you. Choose your life, because it was the way chosen by me, my family, my parents. And then suddenly you say, no, it's not for me. No, it's not for me. Combine your rational, emotional, but at one moment you make the synthesis, you will feel that the decision is this way. You give your time, you never count your time. And you go through failures sometimes, okay? That's part of your learning process. The good decision is the one you take because you have chosen your way. My recipe was simple. I think I shared a lot with my team. Put the pressure at the relevant place. The dimension of, let's call that management with a big M. It's not so much the technical part, it's much more the...
In this Sports and Outdoor Mentors episode, I chat with Jean-Marc Pambet, the former president of Salomon. Jean-Marc spent more than 35 years at Salomon, over which time the ownership of the brand changed 3 times. From the Salomon family to Adidas, from Adidas to Ama Sports, and from Ama Sports to the Anta Sports-led consortium. So if you think you may benefit from the experiences of someone who successfully navigated these changes and who joined Salomon as a business controller in 1985 and who left for the second time as the president in 2021, this is the episode for you. Before we get to that, I have one favour to ask. Less than 50% of people watching or listening are subscribed. So please hit the subscribe or follow button to help us reach more people so that they can also benefit from the valuable insights leaders like Jean-Marc share. I hope you enjoy the episode and thanks for all your support. So, Jean-Marc, much of the conversation today, of course, we're going to focus on the 35 years or thereabouts of your time at Salomon. But before we maybe get to that, I'm really interested to understand what were the key moments to actually lead up to that point of joining Salomon all those years ago.
Key moment was when I was young. I had a chance to learn skiing with schools. Okay. At that moment, you had today, more or less, you can send your kids to let's say, a snow class, 1 week max. I had the chance 2 years in a row for 1 month, and I was 10, meaning that I've been skiing a little bit before, but you can understand that twice, 1 month with your school, it was just great. In the center, Massif Central, and in the Alps. And then from that, of course, when you are going older and all that, students, you go and you ski. That's how it has started.
Okay, interesting. So is Haute-Savoie and this region, this is home, this is where you grew up as well?
Not so much.
Okay.
I was born in Morocco. It's called Blackfoot Pied Noir, okay. Because my parents were working. My father was working there. My grandfather was a doctor. A small story about it. Yeah. My grandfather was in the military service as a doctor, because I think it's the 20th century. But at the beginning, if you wanted at that moment to make some adventure in your life, the kind of today, what are you doing? Trail running and all that, this kind of sports. Through sports, you can organize big adventure today. At that time, it was only the army to go and discover environment. And then he was able to go around the Mediterranean Sea to Lebanon, Egypt and all that. And then you finish with Morocco. And he finished after his 15 years as a military doctor, as a generalist doctor for the family doctor, let's say, in Morocco. That's why my father lived at that moment there, and then I was born there. That's the family story. Far from the Alps.
Yeah, absolutely. A long way from the Alps. If I understand well, you went to HEC in Paris.
Yeah.
Which I think, at least from my understanding as a non-French person, is considered to be one of, if not the best business schools in France. So what led you there actually first? What was the journey there?
Interesting moment for me too. Yeah, I did my studies through HEC. We say HEC, High Business School in France, the number one. But then I started after my baccalaureate in a process to be engineer. Okay. Very mathematic, physics and all that. But the funny thing is that after 2 weeks, I understood that it was not my journey. Yeah. Because I didn't catch with one teacher. As simple as that, the guy in charge of physics. And then I was looking at, okay, what am I doing now? And I opened a book, which is the agenda of the weekly book agenda of the class, okay, business school preparation. And I said, that's for me. And from this day, I discussed with the director of the lycée, of the school, high school. And he said, okay, go. And from that, 2 years after, I just entered this business school in Paris, close to Paris, let's say. That's it's like that. Sometimes one day you understand that that's not your way, because it was the way chosen by, yes, my family, my parents, and then suddenly you say, no, it's not for me. Yeah. And more or less these 37 years at Salomon started from this day when I said, no. I mean, the possibility to say at one moment, no, it's not for me. That's just that.
During your 37 years at Salomon, so you went through, or you've been through at least until today, all phases of ownership. So when you joined, it was still obviously family owned by Georges Salomon. Then Adidas bought it. Then Ama Sports, and obviously most recently the Antasport consortium. So when you look back at those 4 periods, what were the best and the most challenging time of each of those periods?
Can I say that there is a best or most challenging? And then it's different times. The first parts, because I can split the time in several moments. Yeah. First, let's say, and then I'm saying now that to everyone who is starting in his own career, young guys, the first 5 years. You start with your job, you are still studying. Okay, you are not anymore in the university, but you are just learning. Meaning that the first 5 years controlling, I started as a controller, financial controller. Good school to understand let's say the company and the different parts. And then product, because I wanted, of course, you enter Salomon, you want to do product, you want to create something. And then I really opened a new area of my career in 90 when I started as the head of France, GM French market, let's say, we could say. Because then I started with sales management, not managing only the sales, but managing the sales force, managing the French sales organization, team spirit, everything starting for me at that moment. Meaning that at that time, are you part of a company? Yes, but it's not a big company that is important. It's your own team. And I had to manage the French market with a team, and it was just 6 years great. And then Europe. Okay, you go one step. You lose something, because at that moment you are managing GM of countries, not anymore a deep, wide team. Okay, but very interesting period. And then you are moving. Now you are leaving this family-owned company. Big change, because you are entering Adidas. It was a big change. We learned a lot, but we were small into a big company. Okay, the big change happened with our sport, with a big company in this group, which was, of course, much smaller than Adidas group. Okay, and then the last time, which was with the Chinese new management. Okay, from that, I can't find any tough moment. I just learned from every year of these different phases. That's what I can say. But excitement is every year was an excitement. Okay, of course. Then when you manage, let's call that crisis, social plans. Okay, you go into something which is let's say, a very deep moment, because you are not bringing, let's say, happiness, immediate happiness, but you know that if you do that, this is for something which is better tomorrow. Okay, meaning that more or less, if I have in mind this toughest moment, this is the moment when you have to manage a crisis. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you do it for good reasons every time.
Okay, let's maybe go back to those first 5 years. As you said, good for somebody that's maybe starting out today. And as you mentioned, so you joined as in financial controlling, so very, let's say, finance driven, and then you moved to product, I think in Nordic, if I remember correctly. So you've gone from kind of very finance numbers driven to very consumer product driven. So quite a transformation, quite a change. What were when you made those changes, what were the key learnings for you? What did you have to kind of change your way you thought about things, or because it's such a big shift?
Okay, you joined Salomon because you want to you want to go closer to the environment of mountains. Okay, I was in Paris. I was working for a consulting, because I started as a 2 years consultant in a consulting company, with the goal for me to go back not to the mountains, but to go back to Africa, where I did my military service.
Okay.
After my studies, I've been there. I've been in Niger, which is a South Sahara, let's say, region. I came back to Paris, and I really wanted to do this kind of job for Africa. But then after 2 years, I stayed in Paris, and it was not my goal to stay in a big city like that. I'm not a urban guy. And more or less, I sent my application to Salomon, just a volunteer application. I just want to join you. And in fact, because I said in my letter, okay, marketing, because of course it is like, if you want to enter in such a company, what do you want to do? Marketing, okay? This is, okay. And I think it's still today, but you have many other things to do, okay? And then I met people. I had the chance in my journey of Salomon to work with not so many, but very strong leaders, my boss, okay? And I met a guy, Roger Pascal. He was we can say at that moment he was leading the big units, meaning that we can say at one moment he was the number 2 of the company, but he was my boss. And I mean, you have a connection. I mean, you need to have a connection with your brand, but back to the people. And the notion of people for me is a very critical element of my career. And I connected with this guy. And this guy told me, Jean-Marc, marketing, you have time to do it. Come and join. We need to reinforce our contrôle de gestion, controlling forces, because at that moment, Salomon didn't do anything about that. Okay. And he was very proud to hire a high business school guy. There were 2 in his team, in fact, because he wanted me to work for the ski binding department, but he was leading the ski project. And there was a second high school member, a very young guy, just joining him. It was Jean-Luc Diard, who was my predecessor in the role of president of Salomon. And more or less, we started at the same time. Then Jean-Luc was leading the ski business, the ski new project, and I was leading the controlling of all this kind of stuff. But we were, I think, both of us in connection with Roger Pascal. You know, it's people to people. That's very important.
So when you look back over your career, and you've well articulated there the different steps that you took over that time period. So I think by any stretch of the imagination, people would say, wow, that's an amazing career. Join as a business controller, leave 35, 37 years later as president of the company. So what would you kind of identify as if I use some acronyms that you would know, your key success factors or something like that? What do you look back and think, okay, this is some of the reasons why I was able to progress?
I never change companies because I've been connected with Salomon, let's say my full career, we can say. Let's forget the 2 years in Paris. I didn't ask for something really, saying that, hey, tomorrow I want to become that. Okay, I'm back to this connection with my company, with my boss, with the management of my company, and every time let's say the trust that we have been able to build together, the understanding of how this company was working and what kind of added value I could bring. I just got from these bosses, the different bosses, because you have your boss and the management team, let's say, the proposal, meaning that I think it's coming from trust between the different people, you and your management, okay? Because it's funny to say that more or less I can split my career 6 years after 6 years. Yeah. With one point, I didn't want to change after 2 or 3 years. At the end of the day, when you start a new job, are the first 2 years your years? No, things have been done before you, okay? With this kind of rhythm, even let's call that the project management, or range management, a product development, the first 2 years, this is what your predecessor have been doing. the third year is your year, okay? Meaning that every time I've taken the time and the 6 years concept, and many times when I talk with new young guys, I'm saying, don't be impatient, be patient, okay? And you learn from time, and the 3, 4, 5, okay, it's not 10 years, but more than 2 or 3, that's clear, okay? And then I moved from, this, after 5, 6 years, every time I was thinking, okay, what am I doing tomorrow, okay? And it's funny, every time I got a proposal from my company. That's how it has moved. I mean, it was then leading the French market 6 years, leading the EMEA market for 6 years. And then Jean-Luc, who had some troubles with his soft goods, footwear and apparel business in 2002, he said to me, Jean-Marc, do you want to lead as a general manager this new diversification of Salomon? Of course, I went there. And then 6 or 7 years later, this is Roger Talermo who said to me, Jean-Marc, do you want to lead this company? Okay, but at the end of the day, it's connection with people, because the people know that, and it's not only a question of expertise, it's a question of, okay, are you able to work with your teams, to motivate your teams? And back to my approach, which is team management. Can we call that leadership? ? But this is, team management, because then you embark your people. And it has been my motto, let's say. That's, if I take the number one point in this company, why I've been going through these 37 years, it's connection with people.
I fully agree with you, but also it's somehow more than just a connection, because I think as you said, for your bosses or boss to come to you every 6 years, there's also a strong level of trust there as well. Because, you can have a connection with someone, but be like, oh, I'm not sure. When Jean-Luc said to you, okay, come and lead the soft goods, he did that, I'm sure, because he trusted that you would come in and do a good job. How did you build that trust over the years? Was there something that stands out that kind of you were like, okay, it's my goal to really ensure that people trust you?
I've been told that I have a quality which is the capacity we use the word systemic, that is to say the view of 360. Meaning that when I was leading the EMEA market, Europe, which is a very important market for Salomon, but then that you have your connection with product. Every 3-6 months you have specific meetings with the leader of the product categories and all that. And I think from that, maybe Jean-Luc understood that I was able to look at everything 360, and not only the sales and customer and all that, but also the product management. Maybe this is just a way to be into your job, but really looking every day, more or less, at your 360, able to understand that when you have this crisis, okay, maybe the crisis is coming from this part of the company, but you are not doing, okay, what are you doing there? You try to collaborate. You try to contribute to the solution. More or less, that this kind of behavior maybe gave to my bosses, let's say, the will to offer me more.
Okay, you'd spent a few years, 5 years roughly at headquarters initially, and then, so let's say 12 years in the markets in sales. And when you were in headquarters initially, it was in, let's say, compared to the roles that you had, a reasonably junior role in comparison. So how did that transition from, I would say, a senior role in terms of GM for EMEA into a senior role at headquarters? How did you manage that transition from that kind of more sales role to the more product-orientated role?
Yeah, it's a question. First, you don't do it alone. When you work something, the first point is to consider your team, and the team is bringing something. Meaning that let's not consider that the guy who is leading the things is the genius leader who knows everything. I have the feeling that the team you build is a critical part of maybe your failure or your success. Okay, and this is not you build a team or you just manage your team, because sometimes the team is ready, you go with it. Okay, EMEA, I've been managing this team because more or less the team, the leader of the different markets, they had already this position. For Salomon Softgoods, it was different because then we made the decision to go for a big change because everything was done in the US, in Boulder, Colorado, with failures at that moment in terms of management, how did it work. And then with Jean-Luc, we decided to stop Boulder and to really reorganize everything in NC, meaning that, it was more or less from scratch. Then the point was at that moment to choose the right people. And I think I did. And I learned from these people a lot. I learned a lot. I mean, you were looking at these first 5 years, especially the 3 years spent into the Nordic department. Okay, at the moment where it was a big crisis for the Nordic, it was really close to close, let's say. And then the SNS profile, it was called the concept of product. We really changed the Salomon position on the market with that. It's funny that this short time, 3 years as Nordic product manager, helped me understand the process of everything. And when I came back in 2002 into the softgoods business, something came from this short time of experience. But okay, it's a combo of your own experience and the people you are working with and how you gather together, let's say, product management, development, sourcing, all that around you.
And what is your approach to building that team to find those leaders that you want to work with you? What are you looking for, or what were you looking for, I should say?
When I was looking for these people, I cannot say today that I had a good recipe because then you go through failures sometime. Okay, that's part of your learning process. It's a combo between the experience of the people, okay, what they have been doing in this kind of role, let's say, and their ability to enter the team. It was a combo between this kind of pure expertise. I mean, it was job expertise and management style. Which I don't know if I can explain a recipe. What is clear is that you try to combine both, and sometimes the good point when I was saying the start of the softgoods leadership is that we didn't hire from outside. I mean, there were in this company Salomon, we had a chance to have really interesting and good people willing to go for more, who could choose to join this kind of new project. I mean, and here you just take into consideration what they've been doing in this company, and it was a good start to be really let's say build this successful, at the end of the day, very successful softgoods diversification for Salomon.
And you talked there about the expertise you're looking for. That's clear, and you said also the style of management. So, was there a particular style that you were looking for in people?
Ability to connect with, ability to gather on the same project, ability to, to connect at the end of the day. And it's not very rational. It's not very rational the way you can measure it. But trying to get some people who understand that they represent one, but which is not enough to succeed. It's one and the connection, and people who can embark their people. Okay, and also the ability to understand that above them there is this kind of company project, and are they really part of this kind of company project? That's it's not easy to formalize. You cannot put that on an Excel file. I mean, that's clear. And maybe another point is that I always shared very important hiring with someone, a group of 2 or 3 or 4 people. Okay, that I think it was at that time it was important, so that we can look at the candidates through different angles.
Obviously, at various times through your career, you've held very senior roles within large businesses, which means that you've had to travel a lot for those roles. Even when you're not traveling, I know very well that sometimes you've been here for team meetings, on calls with the US in nights, on calls with Asia in the morning. Then you have your family, your wife, your 3 sons. You've also, over the years, and we'll maybe come back to that, given up time in terms of working with the European Outdoor Group, Outdoor Sports Valley, some local universities. So I'm intrigued to know well, I guess the first question is, were you able to find a good balance? And if you were, did you have any non-negotiables or kind of rules that you had to make sure that you were able to keep that balance?
First point is that, of course, you have your balance because I'm back to home here. I mean, your contract with your partner, let's say my wife, was very important. Because as you mentioned, you give your time. You never count your time, okay? There are some rules in the company when you travel, then you have a 1 day free back and all that. Of course, I never use these kind of things. And my wife said, what is that? But we didn't use one word till now, but I can use it now. It's passion. I mean, you have your passion for your company, for your teams, for your project. There is no dinner with friends without speaking about your job, not your job, your company. The name Salomon, okay? Meaning that this kind of different moments, support, let's say, and I would reinforce the support of your partner at home, that's clear. But then in this role, you see this, the commitment from other people too. I had the chance with Salomon to be part of a group, and I'm leading the Arc'teryx brand. I mean, I've been in contact with them, the Bonfire guys from Portland in the US. From everywhere, you can see people who are owning, let's say, the vibrations of their brand, and with the various culture that you meet and all that, you say, okay, but more or less you think, oh, it's normal to be like that. Maybe it's not so normal, but it's normal. Yeah, in our world, it was normal to be engaged like that, and at the end of the day, the passion was shared at home too. Despite the fact that my wife was not at all in this kind of sports activities and all that. Let's make it simple. She was a teacher, okay? But then, once more, we talk a lot. I mean, we compared a lot and many times management at the office, people management, team management, and class management. At the end of the day, there are a lot of parallel things to take from that. Even she has been many times in the position to help me put, do you say that? Feet on the floor, you know? Hey guys, don't forget the reality.
Yeah, it's just skis and shoes and clothes. It's yeah, absolutely. So maybe let's just touch a little bit on that time, as you said. So that's obviously was Amer Sports when you were on the executive board and you were working with your peers from the other brands. I guess that was the first time, maybe, because I don't know. Did you have that sort of exposure when you were part of the Adidas, or when Salomon was part of Adidas?
Exposure with the other brands, you mean?
Yeah,
exactly. A little bit, because I was in my soft goods responsibility.
Okay.
I had to manage the Arc'teryx brand company, let's say business, and the Bonfire one and the Cliché one, very small units from Lyon. But I had to manage for 3-4 years, yes, this company. But then, of course, the acceleration came from the Amer Sport time, and let's call that the second, especially the second part when Higi Takala joined the Amer Sport group. So
that time collaborating with the other members of the EXP, what value did you get from that? Because I think there was lots of quite different backgrounds and personalities. So I'm assuming that, okay, of course you're there to work and that's clear, but also just interacting with people like that must provide a lot of value to you.
You can meet people who are managing big companies in the US, Wilson, Arc'teryx, Precor, or managing big sales regions, okay, in Asia, North America. Of course, you more or less you exchange on the same kind of topic because it's group topic and all that. But then you can hear the way American guys are looking at it, the way European guys, or even the way we look at it between Atomic in Austria or Salomon in France or Peak Performance in Sweden. I mean, it's not the same, okay? Or the way Asian people, then sales organization are looking at it, meaning that it was, yes, very rich in that sense to share. Yeah. And especially to see how, especially the US guys, how they were culturally able to play with the different constraints. Okay, I mean, EMEA guys, I think we are much straight to the topic, okay? sometimes we say no, we should not say no, we should say yes, and then we play with. And I learned a lot from the US how to say yes, no, meaning that they say a yes, which is a no, but saying yes, at the end of the day, they don't do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's they play with their management style.
Yeah.
Okay, this is just it's interesting. The way
for sure.
the culture are working.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I think that's one of the values of working within a global organization. The cultural variances are so strong, whether it is US, France, UK, China, for example. I mean, you know, there's big differences, and I think it's often underappreciated. I think management skill to be able to understand those different cultures and utilize that.
No, and I learned back to the US from the US guys. It was my feeling that they didn't take the pressure 100%. We took too much about the pressure. But then it was a pressure from a European group from Finland, and I think the pressure for them it's easier to put pressure to the their European colleagues. Finland against the US, sometimes I thought they didn't got the right keys to manage them, to put pressure on them. Okay, but I really I admired the US guys with their ability at some moment to be much smoother in terms of how to take the pressure.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are times for your career where you really felt pressure. How did you manage that? Did you have a way that, you knew, okay, this week's going to be, pressure's going to be really high? Yeah. How did you deal with those times?
Yeah, it was especially the time, of course, when you are more exposed, meaning that it was the last 10 years, okay, being the president of Salomon, president of the footwear category within Amer Sport. My recipe was simple, but I think I shared a lot with my team. Doesn't mean that you share with 100% of your 12 members of the team, let's say, but you have 4, 5, 6, and you share more, meaning that more or less you get prepared, not only yourself, but with them. And just the fact that you play with the team, with their feedback, helps you, let's say, reduce the pressure. Because we take the challenge together. Yeah. It was really my way. I mean, I really used a lot my team in comparison to being to have the feeling to be alone on that. Okay, and it was a good way. I think it was a good way to manage, especially during the time of Amer Sport, which was this time of the matrix management. Okay, and matrix meaning that there was the combination between a lot of platform, let's say, and the verticality of the brands. And at that time of the Amer Sport, let's call that PNG model, brands were not put at the middle as a pillar of everything. The platform was put at the middle of everything. Let's say supporting the full process of the company. And at some moment with this system, it was really hard for us, and I think for everyone in the group. Okay, and I think that when the Chinese came, the new ownership, which is the current ownership of the group, the fact that they put back the brand in the middle of the room, let's say, as the pillar of the building and pillar of the success of the business, I think it helped a lot. Put the pressure at the relevant place, okay, where this pressure can be really productive for the group, instead of before where maybe the pressure was really at places which were not so productive. I mean, the risk was that we lose productivity because of this kind of pressure.
Yeah. Okay, so leveraging the team then was important. And I'm interested, so, you spent most of your career in the sports industry, sports and outdoor industry. But what role do sports and the outdoors play on your life outside of professional?
Of course, it has been important, but I'm not a champion. I'm more a multi-sport. I mean, I've been a teacher, a swimming teacher when I was a student. Of course, I'm a skier. I do alpine skiing and cross country. I did some run. I did some trail. I did one marathon, let's say. I mean, this is more the sport was something which was important, but for my personal, let's say, life balance, not to be an athlete.
Yeah.
I've been, of course, working with athletes, but I've not been at that level of, let's say, activity in that. Yeah. But it's, at the end of the day, it's this kind of balance thing. Sport was important. My job was really important, of course, in the balance. Then family, and then travels and all that. Yeah. But being in contact with sports people, participants, it was very important for me when we did something with Salomon. This is not to think only top elite and athletes. I mean, this kind of large public participation was very important. But okay, then the beauty of that is that we were combining, let's say, professional sports activities and lifestyle, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but so it was part of that, let's say, tools that you had to find that good balance to help you with that balance. Sport played a part.
It was part of it, but then the fact to have your job into that gives motivation for you first to apply it for yourself, but then to motivate because you put Salomon in everything you do with your friends and all that. But then at the end of the day, it was for a good reason, just to say, okay, let's enjoy the nature. Yeah. At the end of the day, it was the nature.
So I already mentioned earlier on that you gave up time for both the European Outdoor Group and Outdoor Sports Valley. So maybe let's start with, why did you do that? Why did you feel that was important? And then I'm interested to know what kind of value you felt that brought you.
I will give you an small anecdote that happened in Annecy here, 2005, something like that. And this was with a brand. I know that you met not so long ago, Romain Millet, but it was with the company Millet before Romain. At that time, I was starting with soft goods leadership, this new position for me, 2004, something like that. And I could see that we were, let's say, paying lawyers to send letters to Millet because we thought they were copying us, our product, okay? And I understood that we had no connection with the brands, with the guys, the leaders, the Millet leaders and all that, just through lawyers. We were sending letters, they were sending back letters. We were paying lawyers to talk together on something which was a small detail on the product, really small detail. At the end of the day, when you look back, say, okay. And then I said, wow, hey, it's crazy. I took my phone, I called Frédéric Ducreuil, it was the GM of me at that moment, and I said, Frédéric, don't you think that, I didn't know Frédéric, because of course at that time, people from the outdoor in Annecy, they didn't know each other. And he said, okay, let's go to a bar, okay, Café Brunet in Anne-Sylvieux. And then we spent 1.5 hours talking together, just exchanging. I mean, and of course, in 1 hour, we solved the issue. And then we made a commitment to stop these kind of crazy things, okay? That's the Millet anecdote. And then 2 years later, with these kind of things in mind, we had the opportunity together with a few guys in Annecy. Frédéric was part of it. We were 5 to create this Outdoor Sports Valley Association, France Association, which is today the outdoor association representing the outdoor industry in France. And it's starting from 5 guys saying that, hey, yes, we can, let's say, we can work together and build something to serve the outdoor industry, to make Annecy a big mecca of industry in France. We did it. And the funny thing is that now everyone knows each other. I mean, this industry, I mean, this is, let's call that a community. Very friendly, very efficient, working on different things which are very, very important for the industry. We are at Samaya today, okay? This is a startup coming from the Outdoor Sports Valley education program. Coming from these 5 guys 15 years ago who talked together to say, let's build an association together so that we speak together. it's just this kind of crazy things. And EOG at the same time, it was in parallel. It was not the Millet thing. It's just the fact that in Europe we need to. EOG was already existing. Salomon was not part of it. It was more the German-speaking countries because they know how to connect. They knew at that moment, and we were not part of it. The French industry. Yeah. And I said, okay, I talked with these guys, and the conclusion was that they invited me to join the board. And I said, of course. And then the beauty of it is that when I left, there were 3 or 4. I mean, it's a board of 7, 8 people. After 10 years, we were 3 from the French market to be there in an organization which was really German driven. And for an example on that, where I think in France we can improve a lot. I think it's better now, but we are here 7, 8 years ago. EOG organized a summit, European summit, where the leaders came together. It was a 300 people meeting. It was in Germany, in Sweden. We did it in France at that moment. But then we were 2, 3, 4 from the French market in this kind of event, while you had so many German guys, Italian guys, Swedish guys, of course, UK guys and all that. And I thought at that moment, hey, we need to be much more proactive, the French industry. And on that, of course, Salomon as a leader had to be, let's say, the number 1 on the list of, let's say, being a member for that. And that's why I took this kind of, responsibility to say, okay, I join, of course. I want to show that that's the way we have to go, being much more together in Europe.
Yes. Okay. So I think that's clear, and I can see there's definitely a desire to do things better for the industry, but also clearly, hopefully, some benefit for Salomon and yourself as well. But then,
maybe I correct you on something, because when you play this kind of industry approach, there is nothing to take for yourself at the end of the day. You give. Okay. EOG, you give to the EOG, you give to the European market. OSV, Salomon was by far the biggest, because then more or less today it's 400 members. And you have a few guys, Millet, Salomon, big brands. Beside that, it's only small units, small companies, And at the end of the day, you give to the group. I mean, you give to the community, you participate to the community. That's why, I think it was much more from Salomon to the group, so that we are stronger together.
Yeah. But then also I know you give up your time for some universities. So obviously that's somehow almost completely disconnected. So what's the reason you do?
No, it's connected here. It's much more local, because it's the University of Annecy, which it's not a big one, but there are different components which are really interesting. And Salomon is hiring every year more or less 30 trainees, and then it's important to share. It's important for Salomon to be active there. And in this kind of, let's say, university community, we are just a few from the outdoor, from the sports activity. It's very various, let's say, universe. For the company, we have all the companies of the region here. And it's important to show that first Salomon, because Salomon is part of it. And once more, before, let's say, I start as a president, Salomon was not so much involved into this kind of, it was not, it's personal, but Jean-Luc's style was not in this kind of approach for that part. And I really pushed, when I started, it was 2009, I really pushed our participation as Salomon into this kind of, let's call that community organization. And university was something which was very important for me, so that the company could really act and participate and give opportunities. Back to Salomon, it was trainees, but then the opportunity for us to give much more to this kind of structure. And the good point is that I think we are, the University of Annecy, in France, one of the best one in terms of connection between industry and university. And I think for the university, it's critical. It's very important.
What's the most valuable piece of advice you've ever received?
It's not something I received once. In my career, I had to say no 2 times. Okay. I'm on the professional, let's say, evolution, and several times I got comments just to be clear in your mind when you have to take a decision. It's not only for this, because it was a moment when I had to say no to a on the paper, very attractive evolution. But it's the point to get the view on something from your brain, but from your stomach too. Okay, meaning that, and it's not one advice, but several times I was talking with people and we were talking about these kind of things. Okay, the ability to take the good decision. I mean, there is not a good decision. The good decision is the one you take because you have chosen your way. But this is the fact that some people insisted on that. It's here and here, and the rational is here, the emotional is more here, meaning that if you don't feel it, and when you feel something, it's more here. Okay, is it the heart? Is it the belly? Okay, whatever. It's this part of the body. You feel it, and go with your feeling. Combine your rational, emotional, but at one moment you make the synthesis, and you will feel. You will feel that the decision is this way. But maybe you can say take that, and for me, some big decision have been managed, and it was personal decision with this combination that I got from various different comments, which were really important. I don't know if it's, but I think that's the idea I could have on that topic.
Okay, it makes a lot of sense for sure. So it's been a few years now since you stepped back from the industry, although you're still playing a little bit of a role, a few days a month, supporting a few different brands, which is great. But when you think about the outdoor industry as a whole, or the outdoor sports industry, what do you think maybe some of the big challenges that it's facing now and in the future? Is there anything that stands out to you?
If you take the last 10 years, one thing has been moving a lot. It's the fact that there is not anymore a brand and a retailer. I mean, everyone is working on both sides. I mean, some retailers are doing brand activity, and brand, of course, are doing direct activities to consumers. Meaning that for the companies today, the key question is really to understand how the end consumer will react to anything, a new product, a new program, whatever. And this is, I think this is something that will drive a lot of, is it investment, but a lot of challenge within the industry. Clearly, the connections between brands and retailers has to be much closer. Clearly, we manage the product, we manage the consumer, we manage datas in the middle. The data management, which represent behaviors from consumers, which represent behaviors from buyers and all that. This kind of topic, and okay, we call that IA now, but all this kind of data management is something that will have to be captured by the brands, or let's call that by the companies. And I believe that this is a big challenge today, how to do it, who are the experts to help you, what kind of investment you have to do on that. Okay, for me, this is the shade, okay, which is hiding things a little bit here. It's not easy to understand what is good to do, and I can see that in this Samaya world. Or I'm helping a brand which is called Saola on footwear, eco-friendly footwear, let's say, but and this is very small companies. Okay. For this kind of small company which are aiming at growing, all this data topic is something important. And I can see, because I'm still connected with Salomon, I can see that for the big companies, big brands, this is a huge topic too on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's at a time where, one, the market overall is currently pretty challenged. So cash flows are a little tight, and those investments are well considered. And also on a topic that is evolving so quickly and that changes so quickly, it's very difficult to know where to invest, how to invest. It's that's a really good.
And who are the relevant, let's say, partners to think about? Because it's on everyone's table. I mean, we share a lot of discussion on these kind of things, but it's complex. Yeah. It's a very complex question for the companies, for the industry, let's say, for the business in general.
Looking back over your career, what's the biggest learning you think you've had coming from what you, in retrospect, see as maybe making a mistake in the past? Something where, you're looking back and thinking, okay, that was a mistake, but, now I feel much, I don't know, stronger, smarter, whatever it is, because of that mistake. Is there anything that stands out?
There are challenges where we don't know enough to deal with that. And sometimes we believe that we can manage them, but at the end of the day, we should have let's say, looked for support, help. And I'm on the question of support and help in general. And I can see these small Samaya, Saola companies, or let's say the boards, because I'm part of boards today. Yeah. And I can see the roles we have, which is really being advisor. We just give advice. We try to understand their challenges, and we try to combine that with our own experience. And we try to say, okay, yes, from what you're saying, good to go this way, or take care about that. Meaning that looking at my past, I would have liked to be more supported at some moments, which means supported by external advice, or making the decision to invest more on direct expertise. Okay, I give you an example. Okay, you know that I've been then leading this soft goods challenge at Salomon. But let's split it in two parts. There is a footwear part and there is an apparel part. And it's clear that Salomon is a successful brand into the footwear business. That's clear. We have been struggling into the apparel business. And when I start this Salomon Apparel and Footwear Challenge in 2002, it was the time for Salomon with, to manage at the same time a soft good investment, outdoor and surf, by the way, at that moment. But it was the time to manage also winter sports. With, in terms of, let's say, people know-how, we were a company coming from winter sports. Big know-how in winter sports. From winter sports, you go to ski boots, Nordic boots, snowboard boots, footwear, meaning that it's easy to understand that we had the resources to succeed in footwear. But let's be honest, we didn't have at that moment the resources to be successful in apparel. Okay, and it took us too long time to understand that we should have to hire experts. Okay, and now with what I know today, I would have said to Jean-Luc, no, let's go for with a plan to invest and hire expert people. And we just did this apparel expansion through, we call that at that moment in France, mobility, because we had to organize. This company moving from hard goods, winter sport equipment, to soft goods, footwear and apparel. There was a big HR challenge to say, okay, what are we doing with our teams? Okay, and we knew that the employment within the winter sport industry would go down, while the employment into the soft goods would need resources. And we moved too much, we organized too much mobility from winter sport to apparel. Footwear was really, the proof is done that this mobility to footwear was a success. On apparel, at some moment you need expert. And I'm learning that with the Chinese people today, and they are clear. When you have to attack this new challenge, they are pushing you to hire the relevant expertise and to accept that it is an investment. But at the end of the day, then they are able to go maybe faster on something. And for us, it has been a too long process where we were missing this kind of expertise. Yeah. Okay, that's. I think it's an example into let's say this, an experience which could have been managed with more strengths.
If you could give future leaders of the sports and outdoor industry 3 pieces of advice, what would they be?
Number one, it's for you. I mean, choose your life. Okay, meaning that how deep you want to be in your job, how you balance your job with your family and all that. But you need to be happy, because if you start with something which is a struggle in your life, first, if it's a struggle into your professional life, it will touch your personal life. That's clear. I mean, at the end of the day, this is meaning that, yeah. And what's more, between the brain, the rational, and the emotional, make sure that your emotional is good with you. And the day when it's not so good doesn't mean that everything is it's a big crash. It's just that, hey guys, take care. You have to work on it. Number two, it's back to the team. You inherit from a team. You build a team. Whatever, you need to ensure that the quality of this relationship, the quality of your complicity with some of them, let's say, but that you are happy with the guys you're spending time with every day. And then, as we all have a boss at some moment, okay, educate your boss, learn how to play with your boss, whatever the relation you have with him or her, let's say, but understand how he or she is, so that you can interact and really use. I mean, your boss is part of your team at the end of the day. It's not okay. It's different. Maybe different moments, but you need to find a way. It cannot be. You cannot suffer from your boss. I mean, it's critical. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I give an example on something there. When the Chinese guys entered this process to acquire Amos Sport Group, it was in 2018. They purchased in 2019. But we learned about the Chinese management. We even took time with a specific expert. Guys, 80 years old, who spent 35 years of his life in China, leading a factory, but he was able to explain us some keys to understand the Chinese management, and one of them was this group approach. Group meaning that in China, a leader, whatever the level of the leader, but more or less everyone has a guangxi. Guangxi, it's a group of people from his or her management group, from friends, okay, it's in the business or external of the business, but this group is a group which is connected to him or her, okay? Open to feedback, open to do something for you. But this kind of group, I think it is interesting, because this is a group that is very important for your own balance, because you challenge things. I mean, everything that you challenge in your mind, you can share with them, because it's full trust, full confidentiality. There is nothing outside, meaning that it's part of you, but it's not you. It's a group of people who are supporting you on that. And what's more, it's not one and then just one group. It's more or less everyone has his own or her own guangxi. Yeah. And from this, let's say, Chinese culture, I think this is important. And back to what I am doing with Samaya or Saola, this is just being part of their guangxi. It's like a guangxi of a company to support them. We listen to them. Everything is closed. I mean, everything is confidential. We can challenge on different directions and all that, with the goal to support them. Meaning that this kind of closed community seems to be very important in, let's say, the way I can see how our life is going, what is good to do. Yeah. And it could be an advice to say, okay, have your own guangxi, okay? Friends, colleagues, boss, I mean, people who, you are not alone, can support you, can help you. Yeah. At a moment which can be a very important decisive moment, or at a moment where it's in your mind a crisis, okay? But all this moment, this is time where people can help you. Selected people, let's say, your people. Just that.
If today was the last day, really the last day of your career within outdoor sports, so you were literally never going to see any of us again, what would be your message to, let's say, the broader team, so to all of the companies you're working with today, to Salomon, to the industry? What message would you want to leave?
I think I would leave an image of a big smile. It's a journey which has been wonderful. A big smile and a big thanks, because you say thanks to the people you have met along this journey. Okay, and now it's time for you or for me to go outside of that, but they will continue, meaning that it's a smile for you guys. Enjoy, because at the end of the day, what a chance we have to be active. I'm especially in the outdoor world here, into this world, okay, where even now it's a multicultural world, because we see that we can combine that. Even for us, Hammer Sport, we have now, let's say, Chinese ownership, and you learn from them a lot. Or we have another shareholder, he's called Chip Wilson, from the US, from Canada, but a big success from a guy which started from zero, okay? That's just a point of, sometimes it's tough, sometimes it's time for a crisis, sometimes it's time for something which is very tough, but okay, this is just a moment. And at the end of the day, look at the big curve, and the big curves can only be, let's say, good moment. Yeah, absolutely. And you, Dan, you are a good example of it. Look at what we are doing now.
Absolutely.
Look at what we were doing a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's a new chapter, a new story, for sure. Well, thank you very much, Jean-Marc. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing. I think we could talk for probably a very, very long time. You have so much knowledge and experience, but I think this is maybe teasing a little bit and scratching the surface. So I appreciate you sharing your insights, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please like, subscribe, or leave a comment. Thanks for your support, and see you soon.